Here are the top 10 most unbelievable survival stories ever shared on the Joe Rogan Experience. Locked Away. In episode 1832, when Charlie Walker set off across Siberia, he wasn't chasing a headline or working undercover. He was simply compelled by that almost childlike curiosity to see what the edge of the map looked like, to stand in a place where rumor and reality had long since blurred together. But in Russia, even innocent intentions can quickly take on a sinister tint. And it's a place where the line between observer and suspect is paper thin. His trouble began with a tiny oversight, leaving his recording device running. It was an ordinary tool for documenting the landscape. Hours of featureless tundra, deserted roads, wary glances from the few people he passed. But in an authoritarian state, any record you can keep can be turned against you. When the local police knocked on his door, he didn't panic. He thought he could handle a few questions. He slipped the recorder deeper into his jacket without realizing that it was about to become his only insurance policy and his biggest liability.
Batagai, the small town where I started hiking up in the Arctic, that is geographically the same distance from Vancouver as it is from Kiev. So it's just really, really far away. I was closer to the North Pole. I was east of Pyongyang. I was on the same time zone as Central Australia, just really, really far away. And I kind of thought about it, and I thought, well, I'm here, and it's going to be interesting. I'm possibly one of, if not the last tourists in Russia, certainly out in the east. And I've got this almost unique but accidental opportunity to see this country and the lives of normal people, ordinary citizens, as what seems to be a horrific, potentially the precipice of World War III starts to unfold. And so I thought, right, well, I'm going to carry on with this trek, but I'll just try and keep across, information. But as soon as I got to Batagai, it's a short flight from the capital of the region up to Batagai on an old Antonov twin-prop sort of Soviet plane. And from there onwards, I couldn't get any phone signal. The only real information I could get was local state media. I passed a village perhaps once a week, and you turn on the most insane thing was turning on you'll be aware of this, I'm sure, but you turn on the local news out there, and they're talking about Ukraine on their news segments, and every second or third sentence will have the word fascism or Nazism, and they were slowly just drip feeding is the wrong word. They were just gushing this false information out into their public space. And loads of people.
Inside the station, the first thing authorities did was seize his phone and switch it off, assuming they'd neutralized any device. They didn't imagine that a cheap pocket mic was still capturing every word, his calm answers, their accusatory questions, the palpable threat in the room. He learned quickly that in a place like Siberia, the absence of a clear law doesn't mean you're safe. In fact, it often means you're more exposed. When he finally returned to the guest house that night, adrenaline gave way to a creeping dread. He couldn't be sure he'd committed a crime, but he understood something more important. In Russia, whether you've broken the law is often irrelevant. If someone in uniform decides you have, that's all that matters. So he did something all travelers should consider in political tense regions. He duplicated everything. He removed the micro SD card from his recorder, wrapped it in a scrap paper, and tucked it into the hollow of a plug adapter. That simple precaution was the difference between plausible deniability and evidence of espionage. When I first listened to this part of his journey, I could almost feel the cold creeping into my bones. He'd been walking for weeks, he said, weeks across the barren, icy expanse, where the only light was the aurora, flickering like some ancient signal in the sky. And think about that. You're out there alone, the world silent except for the crunch of your boots. And every time you find even a flicker of connection, some tiny scrap of internet, you stop just long enough to photograph your notes and send them out. Like breadcrumbs, hoping someone out there will understand what you're doing. But what really struck me, and honestly, just as a human being, is that by the time he made it to Tixi, this little port on the Arctic Ocean that feels more like the end of the earth than a town, he realized the terrain wasn't even his biggest obstacle. It was the suspicion tightening around him. And I think there's something really valuable for all of us in that. Sometimes we imagine the hardest parts of any mission, any dream, as the obvious physical challenges, the cold, the fatigue, and logistics. But the truth is, it's often the unseen pressures, the invisible doubts and judgments from the world around us that tests us the most. It makes you wonder, if you were in this place, would you keep going? Would you keep leaving your trail of words, even as the world closed in?
I went back to where I was staying, and I was recording. So I took with me a little Zoom, like a little dictaphone. A lot of people use it for podcasts, I think. And for another podcast with a friend that'll surface in a month or so, I'd been recording my experiences in my own voice along the way of the cold, the people I met, the odd conversation with other people. But naturally, with what was going on and people telling me of their opinions about Ukraine, in my own little recordings in my tent at night, sometimes I get a little sort of political, I guess. And after that encounter with in Oostquigga, when they came to my door, these policemen the first time, 4 weeks back, I know we're jumping around. When they came to my door, I was recording on my dictaphone. And I went to answer the door and just slipped it in my pocket. And they said, right, come to the police station now. And so I went, but it was still recording. So I had a live mic throughout this whole police process. And the first thing they did in the police station was take my phone, turn it off so I wasn't recording. And so little did they know there was this hot mic in my pocket. So after that was done, I got back to where I was staying. I kind of, in my own words, said what had happened, took the little micro SD card out, and then unscrewed a plug adapter, from like a British plug to a Russian plug. Unscrewed that, wrapped the SD card up in a little scrap of white paper, slotted it in there, screwed it back up. And it's like, I don't want to lose this. It's not really a huge problem, but best just to hide it, have it safe. Up in Tixi, I sort of recorded my final thoughts again, and I had this little SD card. It was just on the table. And another one, I was worried, my journal, my diary that I've been writing in each day, I was worried that might get taken, because slowly, with the villages I passed through towards the end, it was made very clear that the authorities were waiting for me in Tixi. And I thought, well, that might get seized. Not the end of the world if it does, if I, with my GoPro, take a picture of every single page, and I can hide that little SD card in the same.
When the knock came again near midnight, it felt almost darkly comedic. He'd been reading Kafka's The Trial, and now he was living out a version of it. Only this time, it wasn't just the local police. The state had arrived, what they called a registration check, quickly escalated into interrogations about whether he was gathering intelligence on Ukraine, proof that geopolitics can transform a traveler into a target overnight. One lesson emerged. When the state wants a story to be true, doesn't matter what you say. He tried to cooperate, naming 2 men he'd met by chance on the road. Within minutes, officials claim both had signed statements accusing him of journalism, an activity that in the wrong place can become a crime. In that moment, he realized the power of narrative. Whoever controls it holds your freedom. I find this next part particularly powerful. He was told to pack his things and spend the night in custody. In that moment, he learned something all of us could stand to remember. If you can't control what happens to you, control what you can hide. Imagine the stakes. He sees that SD card on the table, recordings that could lock him away for 15 years. No place to hide it. And so he does something almost childlike. He bends the hinge of his headlamp forward, slides the card behind the bulb, snaps it shut, and slaps a rubber band around it. It's so obvious, it feels ridiculous, but nobody checked. And that's what gets me, is that sometimes it's not some slick spy maneuver that saves you. It's the simplest, most desperate little trick that nobody thinks to question. He was fingerprinted, stripped of shoelaces and belt, and collapsed onto a cot, too exhausted to even feel afraid. By morning, he was on a flight to Yakutsk, still clinging to the belief that freedom was just one plane ride away. At any moment, they could have unscrewed that headlamp or cracked open his adapter. Those 2 tiny SD cards were enough to end his life as he knew it.
I was taken to the court, and this is after 2 weeks. By this point, I was not a happy guy. It was almost comical going to the court for the appeal. I was so desperate to get outside. I hadn't been outdoors for 2 weeks. And they say, right, you're going to the court. And I knew that meant I'd get to be outdoors for a few minutes, as I walked from the door into the minibus and from the minibus into the court at the other end. But they put me in cuffs, And then they, with another pair of handcuffs, cuffed me to one of the guards who had a taser, and there was another guard on the other side with a taser. And they wouldn't let me have my shoelaces or my belt back. And I'd lost quite a lot of weight during this trek, so my trousers were falling down. My hiking shoes had these massive sort of, tongues lolling out the front. And walking down the courthouse corridors, I was doing this kind of weird, John Wayne wide-kneed shuffle to try and stop my trousers from falling down. Meanwhile, my hands are pinned to this guy to my right. But the judge looked at the papers for, like 2 minutes and said, yeah, no, your crimes are too serious. There's a political element, and you're going back into the detention centre. And this was probably the time when I felt most low. About a week earlier, I had suddenly, unexpectedly been dragged in front of a TV camera and interviewed. And that was a bit concerning. That felt like, being tried by the court of public opinion. They had, eventually the news bit aired, I think the day before my appeal. But they had gone up to Tixie and they got witness statements from one bloke who I never even met, saying, he was talking about Ukraine and he was photographing these military sites. Again, no photos were ever provided that, backed up that story. And all the while, those first 2 weeks, all of my belongings are in their possession. And the police have come and searched. They've made me turn on my phone, unlock it for them. I had a GPS device, which really freaks them out. My GoPro to them looked like a spy camera. But when they first laid out all my belongings, as some policeman, I was taken cuffed out my cell to turn everything on for him. And sort of on the table, laid out in this neat little row, was all my items. And among them was this plug socket and that head torch with the hidden little SD card in it. And although technically those things weren't really incriminating, the fact that they're being hidden didn't look good.
Personally, I think there's something here that's worth holding on to. No matter how hopeless it feels, there's always some sliver of agency left, some small creative act of defiance. And sometimes it's all you need to keep the story alive. Sitting alone in that cell, he grasped the most sobering truth. The difference between freedom and a prison term often isn't innocence. It's whether anyone decides to look closely enough to find what you are trying to protect. Primal instinct. In Joe Rogan number 2059, Adam Greentree didn't just recount a tale of survival. He laid bare the raw, unfiltered truth about what happens when the wilderness strips away every illusion of control. His story was a stark reminder that no gear, no experience, no mental toughness fully insulates you from nature's indifference. And that's precisely what makes venturing out there both intoxicating and terrifying. He was descending from a mountaintop, one of those forbidding places you can't fully appreciate from a photo, where the landscape seduces you into thinking you're prepared. From the ridge, the carved creek bed looked navigable, almost benign. And that's a dangerous seduction in any environment. The false sense of safety that lulls you into skipping one more check, trusting one more step. When I read this, it hits me how rarely most of us ever taste this kind of focus. For hours, he moved with absolute precision. Every foothold, every hand placement, a deliberate calculation. No autopilot, no distractions, just a steady drumbeat in your head reminding you, if you switch off for a second, you don't go home. And that's something that I think about a lot. Just how comfortable we are in modern life, where mistakes usually mean an inconvenience, not oblivion. But in that terrain, you don't get a second chance. What's really wild is the critical moment didn't come from some Hollywood-style avalanche or a bear leaping out of the trees. It was just a simple jump, a meter down onto what looked like a stable rock. And that's the detail that really sticks with me, how easily life can tip from control into chaos over one tiny misjudgment. His boots hit, and instead of landing, he was instantly airborne in the worst possible way. No cinematic slow motion, just a brutal, ungraceful reality. When he slammed into the glacier-fed pool, every romantic idea about adventure evaporated, because that water didn't just chill, it clawed at him, tore the air out of his lungs, erased everything but a single primal imperative: fight to surface or die. And I think that's something worth sharing with any audience. This moment where survival isn't a set of skills you learned in a workshop. It's an instinct older than civilization, buried in your bones. Dragged by the current into another drop, he crashed deeper into the gorge. And here's what really resonates with me. No one was coming. No one even knew exactly where he was. And that's where most stories would end, in panic, in hypothermia, in surrender. But somehow, it didn't. And personally, I find that incredibly humbling. It's a reminder that the line between life and death isn't always drawn by the big threats we imagine, but by the tiny moments of choice when everything else has been completely stripped away. Thing worth reflecting on. When he realized rescue wasn't guaranteed, his brain switched modes. From dependence to self-reliance, from hoping someone would save him to accepting he was all alone. Surviving prison. In episode number 121 with Bobby Green, you think you're tuning in to learn about chess moves. Instead, you get a first-hand tour through a place where sitting in the wrong spot can mean you've signed up for war. One careless choice and you're fighting for your life in a cell the size of a bathroom. Fists flying, alliances shifting faster than you can track. And that was just the start. After the first brawl, choking a man out in your cell so you weren't the one who ended up on the floor, the guards dragged him away half-conscious. No questions, no reports, no real reaction. They just slammed the door and locked you down for 2 weeks in a concrete box with nothing but your own thoughts. And that's when you started decoding the system they called the cars. Racial factions running the yard. Each race has a car, and every car had a key holder, the one in charge of diplomacy or violence when lines were crossed. They called it a car wreck when rival groups collided. Somehow, beating that man so decisively left you with the keys yourself, an absurd position for a first-timer. Nobody wanted to be the one to step up and take them back because, in there, power is simple. If you can survive, you can lead. So you found yourself at the table with men twice your age, trying to read between the lines that could end in a handshake or a riot. Sometimes you would sit there listening to two guys plot to jump you, too oblivious to realize you were within earshot.
Set you up.
So I go in. This was actually my second experience, not my first experience in there, but my second experience, I go in, they put me into a psych ward, a psych watch, getting extradited from Atlanta to here. And so I go into this area and I don't know anything, and this black guy in the psych ward is like yelling in this module, like, anybody want to learn how to play chess? Anybody want to learn how to play chess? And I was like, hell yeah, I want to learn how to play chess, right? So I walk over, I sit down with this fool, and he starts showing me how to play chess. But it's a black guy at a black guy table, and I'm a white guy. So now I just sat down at this black guy table, and all the woods and all the skinheads in there are like now against me.
Oh no.
But I didn't know.
No, you had no idea.
I had no idea.
Oh no.
Right? So now
no.
Yeah, so now my cell pops and I go to walk to the shower and I walk past the other cell that pops, which is another skinhead in that room, and I go walk past his cell and it's smack, right? So now we're fighting.
Wow.
So clean this kid up. Now they move me to another module. So now this kid put a kite out, like, oh, we got to get this guy, cause da-da-da-da-da. So.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. So I move in this other module. At the time, the institution had a lot of skinheads in there, and the skinheads will politic hard. Like, if they have numbers, then they'll push the politics, And I looked like a skinhead when I went in. I had no hair, like a just bald guy going in there, you know what I mean?
Right.
So they all start treating me like I'm one of them, but I'm not a fucking skinhead. So this guy come over and he's trying to get me to hide this little shank in my cell. Well, that's weapons manufacturing, carries 2 more years.
Oh my God.
That's how people start getting hit. You start catching more cases when you're only supposed to do 2, now you're doing 10. It just stacks up, but go ahead.
And then there's intimidation factor, right? So this guy got a big ass swastika tattooed on his face right here, teardrops, lightning bolts everywhere, you know what I mean? Like this, he's lifer,
Right.
So big shit goes down. I end up choking this guy unconscious.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Drag him out of my cell because he's trying to get me to hold this shank in my cell. I can't, not doing this, bro. And you come in my cell, it's on.
Right.
So now we fighting, take this guy out, right? Just choke him out, beat him up, drag him out, hit him with some elbows, now he's leaking. drag his ass out into the little modular.
So do they know you can fight before you're in
They
here?
don't know.
No.
They have to
No.
How long before they figure it out?
Well, it took
Word
a
start
minute.
traveling.
It took
Word
a minute
travel.
because most of the fighting goes on in the cell or in a shower. You know what I mean? So when the fight actually broke out in the open, when I was fighting multiple people, is what happened. And then all the fucking guards watched. Everybody's watching from their cells. You know, like this is a different time. So this whole incident takes place. I beat this guy up, take him out of my cell. Right now, they take him away. They move this guy out of the modular.
Did they get mad at you?
Eventually, they change you up for transfer. Next to you in cuffs were the same man you'd taken the keys from, whispering that he'd kill you as soon as he got the chance. They sent you both to Donovan, a level 4 yard packed with lifers and violent offenders. You were there because your charges sounded bad enough to make them think you belonged. 3 months of reception, 23 hours a day locked down. Your only tether to the world was the vent, where you'd call chess moves to the guy next door. One day, he asked you to kick a cord over so he could light a homemade wick. You thought it was harmless until a fish slid back under your door with a stash of weed inside. You tried to refuse, but he insisted you keep it. Soon, your cellmate traded it for coffee and canteen, and just like that, you were tangled deeper in debts and rumors you'd never meant to create.
So I go into reception, and we're in a cell block. It's like 360 degrees with a gunner and all this stuff, some desks, and they come check you in. And now our cell's like, we don't get out of our cell now until they intake us, right? So now I'm in there. It's like 3 months, and there's this guy next door. We start talking through the vent to each other a little bit, you know, and we're playing chess and shit like through the little vent, so moving pieces around and shit. And they call me out to the thing, talk to the officers, and this guy goes, I don't know this guy, again in the cell next to me.
Right.
And I walk past his cell, and I hear him yell like through the thing. He's like, "Hey, bro, kick that cord over to me." And I'm like, "Kick your cord over?" Like, "Yeah, that cord right there. Kick that cord over to me when you're coming by." And I'm like, "What the fuck's he want this cord for?" You know? It was like connected to this fan, right? So when I come back, I kick this cord over, and I wasn't gonna do it, but I was like, "Fuck it," right? So I kicked this cord over there, and next thing you know, in the night, I get this fish come through, right? Like it's like they make a string, right, with the thing on it, and they swing it out into your cell. And you take this kite, and then you can read the information on it or whatever, you know. So kite it around to everybody and get it to who they needed to get it to, right?
Okay.
So this guy shoots this little sheet kite over to me. I open it up, and it's a fucking sack of weed, dude, right? And I'm like, that's why this dude wanted that cord. He took that cord and he started a wick. So he started a fire, and he had a bag of weed. So now he's smoking weed, and the whole cell is like full of weed, bro. And he shoots it. I say, "Bro, I can't have this." Like, I try to shoot that shit back to him. He's like, "Nah, you got to keep it. You get coffee with it. You get whatever you need, you know." And I'm like, "Oh shit, okay, you know." So my other cellie that was in there, he was like, "I'll take it," and I was like, "Fuck yeah, take that shit." So I got a bunch of canteen and shit, you know, like coffee and.
Kites, notes, started flying. A hit was out. You knew it because you overheard 2 giants in a holding tank planning to kill you the next time your door cracked. That's the thing in prison. Before they jump you, they warn your cellie so he won't get caught in it. One morning, your cellie bolted the second the door slid open. You stood there alone, bracing. 2 men rushed in, one swinging a blade. You grappled, slipping across the concrete as they pummeled you. The 3 of you crashed out into the tier, your hands locked around one man's throat, using his body to shield yourself from the kicks. When it ended, you were bleeding and half-conscious, and he wasn't moving at all. The guards watched it unfold without stepping in. Then they sent you to another cell block, as if it was just a routine cleanup. A few days later, they moved you to the gym, 300 men milling around like nothing had ever happened. A guard told you he appreciated what you've done. All you could think about was how badly you wanted out of that place.
So this guy like really was like thankful I did it for him, you know, like kick this cord. So I never seen his face, like never seen this guy's face, right? Just hear him talking through the thing.
Vince.
And so the guy I caught the chain with puts this hit on me, like they want to try and stab me, right? So it goes around to the other key holders. The fucking guy next to me was a key holder for the Bloods. He's a black guy. Because I kicked that cord over to him, he hit me up through the cell. He's like, "Hey," he says, "is your name Beanie?" And I was like, "Fuck." right? I go back over to the vent, right? And I said, no. and he goes, oh, good. And I went, oh, good. What the fuck does this mean, right? And I'm like, hey, I said, what if it was? And he goes, well, is it or not, fucker? And I go, well, it's not beanie. I go, it's Baney. And he goes, it's the same shit. I go, okay, bro. He's like, hey, I'm gonna let you know, they're gonna pop this door and they're coming for you. And I was like, really? I was like, what do you mean? He's like, they're gonna come and get you when this door pops. You're gonna pop this door, and you're gonna go to shower, and they're gonna send some guys to come and get you.
Oof.
My other cellie, he knows already. He didn't tell me. In order for that to go down, they have to tell your cellie so your cellie can stay out of the fucking way.
Oh, wow.
So he knows about it, he's known about it, and now he tells me through the wall, and now I know he knows about it. You know what I mean? And I'm living in this room with this guy. So, door pops. My cellie takes off running out of the cell. So I just posted up at the back of the cell, just waiting, you know? And sure as shit, 2 guys come flying in. One guy flying in, try to stab me. And then we're fucking scrapping, rapping all over the place. Fall out of the cell. We're up the stairs. Fucking push the guy down the stairs. We fall down the stairs. I'm tired as fuck. Like, fighting 2 guys. I'm tired. I'm lumped up a little bit. And I look over this way, and I'm barely breathing. Look over this way, and all the fucking cops just watching. They're just watching.
Oh, my God.
So this other guy come over, he's kicking. I grab the other guy, drag him on top of me, and I'm just choking him, you know, and like trying to use him to deflect this guy from getting at me.
Right.
And then realize this guy's out. He's not even awake. Push him off me, and now it's just me and this guy and everybody in the cells watching, and all the cops watching. So let's tear this fucking guy's ass up. We leave, and this guy never got up. The guy was choking.
The truth is, danger doesn't always come in obvious forms. Sometimes it's hidden behind something beautiful, like the day you were in Hawaii, renting a Jeep, driving to that perfect remote beach. You stepped into the water so clear it looked harmless. Nobody mentioned the undertow. The second you felt the sand slip out from under your feet, you knew you made a mistake. You fought your way back, legs burning, lungs on fire. Later, you learned locals never swam there. People drowned all the time. It's that panic you remember, the quiet moment when you realize you could vanish. Whether it's the Pacific swallowing you, a prison cell door sliding open, or a snowy slope burying someone upside down in seconds, you never know which current will drag you under. Life is fragile anywhere. Haunted Amazon. In episode number 1932, Merlin Tuttle recounted a chapter of his life that felt less like a scientific expedition and more like an escalating fever dream on the edge of the known world. You know, when you hear about people venturing off the map, it's usually a figure of speech. But in this case, it was literal, far beyond any road, any chart, into the stronghold of the Yanomami, a place so fiercely defended that every expedition before his had been driven back under a storm of arrows. And for years, he respected that warning. Most of us would have, right? But I love the way he explained why he finally went. Curiosity is a force you don't reason with, and I think a lot of us can relate to that in our own smaller ways. Now imagine having to eat bats to survive.
Surreptitiously spit most of it out because I just wasn't about to swallow all those chopped up bones. But I admitted that I had a couple mouthfuls of bat. This reporter went out and did a major story in which he claimed that Dr. Merlin Tuttle, this famous bat conservationist, traveled the world looking for new ways to eat bats. And I've never been so beside myself angry. I went to a judge friend and asked if there was anything I could do. And he said, no, you're too well known as a public figure. You're exempted. You can't defend yourself that way.
That's hilarious.
So
Wow.
That's why I was a little hesitant when you asked me.
Well, I mean, that's the media for you. Well, it's not the media, it's people that use the media, and they're unscrupulous. It's very discouraging. That sucks. But so, what did it taste like?
everybody says that when you got something unusual like that, well, it was like chicken, but I don't know what it tasted like. I was so busy trying to get the bones out of my mouth.
And how do these people, did you ask them, like, how do you guys deal with the bones? They just swallow them, no problem?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, my Thai assistant, Cerrone Doanke, he was a great guy, but he never had any problem. And although I must say he didn't eat bats while he was with.
When his Yanomami guides told him the warriors were away raiding, he saw his window. Just slip upriver, set a few nets to study bats, gather the data, and vanish unnoticed. Clean, professional. But reality in these places doesn't care about your plan. As night fell, dozens of footsteps began circling their camp. No negotiation, no misunderstanding. If they were caught, it was over. And here's where the story really lands for me. The image of two men abandoning everything, gear, notes, dreams, and crawling into the undergrowth to wait out the darkness. Imagine lying there, heart hammering, listening to strangers picking through your life by lantern light, knowing a single cough could trigger an ambush. When dawn finally came, they slipped back to their canoe, easing away into black water. You'd think that would be the climax, but that was just the beginning. Because word travels fast where there are no roads, only rivers. And when people heard the foreigners were carrying cash, the predators came. One afternoon, river bandits with crude muzzle loaders stuffed full of rocks roared toward camp.
The Casiquiare Canal is the world's longest natural canal, and out in the middle of it, there are just no humans around. And we were camped out there collecting for the Smithsonian. But I carried a lot of small cash to do business when I did come to where there were villages. The small cash was hidden in false bottoms of trunks. The way I got the cash, we were funded through a military grant, and anybody that knows anything about the military knows they've got every restriction under the sun on their money and accounting for it. I had known that their rules weren't going to work very well for collecting, and so I had gotten bids from plane charter companies to fly us out to this remote savannah, and they were going to charge a lot of money because it was risky to the planes. And so I got the military to send the money to the Bank of America in Caracas, and then this was time when you had machine guns at the door of every bank, and I mean it was a dangerous time in Venezuela, period. Well, we pretended to change Christmas gifts, and that's how we got our money into small change and took it back to our hotel. Then we put it in false bottoms of trunks. Then we go out to the frontier, and after a while the word kind of gets around that these guys can always pay for something. They must have some secret supply of money. So one day we're out at this remote camp, and my Venezuelan helpers, Indians, came running up saying, oh, in Spanish, cuidado, the not vandals, but the robbers are coming.
And here's what struck me. This man was a lifelong pacifist, someone who never imagined pointing a gun at another human being. But when survival was the only option, he handed out rifles, posted sentries behind rocks, and prepared to make the call no one wants to make. The robbers came within a meter of shore, just a heartbeat from violence, before realizing that they were outgunned. No threats, no argument. They just drifted back into the dusk, silent.
Coming, and I'm responsible for 8 or 10 people, their lives, and am I going to be a conscientious objector, or what am I going to do? And so I broke out all the guns we had, gave everybody one of, everything from an M1 rifle to a couple double-barrel shotguns, pistols, and got everybody positioned behind rocks and logs. And then as the bandits approached, I yelled down to them in Spanish that we understood who they were, and if they touched that rock, we were going to kill them. And they kept coming. And so I finally had everybody show themselves and their guns and yelled one more time. And the last time I yelled, they were within a meter of hitting the bank. And at that point, we'd have had to kill them.
Whoa.
But they finally, at the last minute, when they saw they were outgunned and that we had the upper hand, they backed up and went on.
Even the routine treks were anything but one. He hiked nearly 50 miles of rainforest without realizing his Shamatari guides were secretly recruiting allies for a tribal war. Just think about that for a second. Every sentence he spoke had to pass through 4 layers of translation. English to Spanish, Spanish to Makatari, Makatari to Yanomami, Yanomami to Shamatari. It's hard enough to get your meaning across in one language. In 4, every word was a potential catastrophe. Cave dive near-death experience. I'll be honest, this is one of those stories that sticks in your gut long after you hear it. In episode 39, Joe Rogan sat down with Donald Cerrone, and he started by painting this deceptively easy picture. A few days living in Cozumel, clear blue water, exploring wrecks and reefs, nothing too serious, just divers doing what they love. But that's the thing about adventure. It doesn't send you a warning when it's about to turn on you. The mood shifted when they decided to push deeper into the caves, and that's where every breath, every movement becomes deliberate. You could tell from how he describes it. He knew the guy he was diving with was getting older, still sharp mentally, but the body couldn't keep up, and in cave diving, you don't get second chances. Then came the moment that would stay burned in his memory. He called it the closest he'd ever been to dying. Slow, terrifying, and drawn out. The kind of death where you're painfully aware that you're running out of air and no one's coming. Because in cave diving, there's this brutal unspoken rule. You come home. You don't sacrifice 2 lives for 1.
The guy I was with didn't follow some of our rules. And in cave diving, it's kind of an unwritten fact that you only worry about you. I'm coming home, right? I'm fucking staying alive. So if Joe, me and I were cave diving, if something were to happen, I'm not going in there to get you. No reason for 2 of us to die when only one's in there can die. So he tries to tie off. His buoyancy fucking hits the roof of the cave, kicks his feet, spins, and now all of a sudden this line that's supposed to be tied off, which is our fucking lifeline, is now wrapped around him. So I swim over to him and I try to help him unhook this line, and he goes into panic, and panic kills everybody involved. Everybody involved dies with panic, and that's something that I can't express enough. So he starts fucking freaking out, hitting the roof, spinning, silt fucking everywhere, and I just back out. Take about 4 or 5 big, strong steps back, and I grab a hold of the main line. Now it's silting out. Now when I say something's silting out, there's all this like sediment that ends on the bottom of these caves. And you're in like a little tiny room. So if you kick your fin hard, it kicks up like dark dust, mud, sediment, silt. You can't fucking see anything. Blacks it out. So I back out of the silt. I grab the line. And I see him in there fucking freaking and panicking, spinning and rolling around and getting all caught up in this line. And I'm like, fuck. But I just stay calm. This is the exit. I know where it is because I know where I am. There's the exit. He was making a jump to go down another tunnel. There he is. Now, what I just tell you about the rule that someone comes home, right? I broke the rule and I went in to get him. I said, fucking goddamn. So I let go of the line. And I go in to get him because his light fucking is off now. And I'm thinking, goddamn it, he spun up in this line. His light's off. Did he drop his regulator? Does he have air? Is he okay? As soon as I go into the silt, fucking lose everything, man. Lose my way, where I am, my up, my down. I don't know where I am. I'm fucking panicking now. I'm panicking. Fucking freaking out more than any I've ever. Breathing hard. Bang. Hit my head on the fucking ceiling. And I just close my eyes. And I'm like, God damn it, cowboy. Calm the fuck down. Calm the fuck down. Calm the fuck down. Breathe.
At one point, he was upside down, clawing at the ceiling like an animal trapped in a burrow. He thought about surrendering, about how it would feel to take the last breath and let it all go. But he stopped himself. He told himself he was a fighter and he wasn't going to die in that cave. He remembered a massive crack running along the ceiling of the main chamber. So he turned off his dive watches and light, anything that might ruin his night vision, and he started crawling along the ceiling in total darkness. Each movement sucked more air. He felt tears in his mask, and he didn't care. He kept moving, hand over hand. And then, finally, he saw it, the faint green glow of daylight. The glow was salvation, and he followed it, heart trying to punch through his ribs until the passage widened. But as he squeezed through, his tanks jammed in the rock. Panic roared back. He started thrashing, screaming into the regulator, everything going red.
Slow down, slow down, slow down. Now I'm in pitch fucking black. Can't see anything, trying to figure out where I'm at, what I'm thinking, what am I doing? Okay, we're running out of air. How much time do we have, Cowboy? We're at 28 feet. I know we're at 28 feet. I could probably breathe on this for about another hour, on this tank another hour, so we got another hour, okay. We've been in here fucking 38 minutes already. What are we gonna do? Start trying to find my way out, I can't. Trying to find my way out, I can't. Now I start thinking, what am I gonna do? I'm not gonna drown, Joe. Drowning's like my biggest fear of my life. So we have a thing that's called a BC, and we carry it on our back. It's a buoyancy control device. That's how you control your buoyancy when you're scuba diving, right? It probably holds 20 big, huge, strong breaths. So I fill that motherfucker up. This is my plan. I'm gonna fill my BC up, which throws me to the top of the cave. Bonk, right? Now I gotta flip upside down, and I have to like crawl on the ceiling trying to figure out where the fuck I am. Now I gotta get out of a cave upside down. And I'm thinking, all right, we've switched to our last bit of air. How are we gonna do this, Cowboy? What are we gonna do? We filled our BC up. When I run out of air, I'm now thinking in my mind, how am I gonna die, Joe? Right? Tell my wife, tell my kid, I'm coming home. Now I gotta fucking realize, how am I gonna die? I have a notepad that you carry in your pocket to draw and write on. I'm thinking, what are you gonna say? What's your letter gonna be? You're writing a fucking death letter? You're awake. You're a fighter. We figure this out. You don't fucking find a way to quit, you fucking bitch. This is the conversation I'm having with myself while I'm in fucking complete panic mode and complete darkness, thinking that this is how people die. What the fuck are you doing? You're gonna write a letter to your fucking kid and tell her how you fucked up? I'm sorry, daddy's not coming home. So I'm fucking thinking, I'm not gonna drown. I'm not gonna breathe my last breath. So I'm gonna breathe this BC that I just filled up with air, and I'm gonna fucking breathe it until the oxygen level no longer happens and I just pass out. That's what I've come to realize how I'm gonna die. I'm gonna fucking just slip away and pass out, keep breathing the same air until I go away. And I start thinking, you fucking piece of shit. You're giving up? Like, you're having like legitimate conversations with myself while fucking in complete panic. Like, you're gonna quit that. You're writing a letter and you're gonna fucking breathe your last air until you pass out. You fucking pussy. You're a fighter. Figure the fuck out. So I'm upside down. I'm crawling on the ceiling. And I remember when I came in. We came in the big cave and there's like a huge fucking crack that runs along the top. Turn both my watches off now at this point because they're giving off light, and I kill my light. And I said, that crack's gonna fucking lead to the surface. That crack's gonna fucking give us something. So I just start panicking again because I'm panicking and I don't know what to do. I'm sucking air and I'm fucking breathing hard and I'm hyperventilating. And I'm crawling on the ceiling, looking for this fucking crack, and goddamn it, I found it. I found the crack, and I followed the crack, and the crack got bigger, and all of a sudden I see fucking glow, like green glow, crawling, find it, try to get up, my tanks are too big, I can't fucking get out of the little hole. I can't get out of the hole, I'm fucking, bink, fucking hitting, screaming, freaking out. Calm down, cowboy, this is the way, calm the fuck down, reel it in, we're here, we made it. Grab control. Follow the crack some more, opens up, out, boom, there's the cave, fucking I'm out. Made it. You're coming home. You want to talk about, whoa, motherfucking whoa, right? That was the feeling. Meanwhile, my guy's out there. I can't even be mad at him because he panicked. He grabbed the line. He fucking ran out the hole. And he looks at me and he says, so we're not diving together ever again, are we? I said, no, that was it. That was it.
And this is something I think about. No matter how tough you are, fear is always waiting to ambush you when you're most vulnerable. He forced himself to stop, to breathe, and to think. He shifted his angle, inched forward, and finally slipped out into open water. And just like that, he was free and coming home. On the surface, he met his buddy's eyes, and they didn't have to say a word. They both knew they'd never dive together again. Later, Cerrone texted his girl that he loved her, and that he'd had a moment he'd never forget. And you can feel he meant every word. And what stands out to me, what I'd share with anyone listening, is this. No matter how much training you have, you can't ever fully outrun fear. But you can prepare for the day it comes. And sometimes, that's the difference between making it home or not. Surviving. In episode 2089 of the Joe Rogan Experience, Joe welcomed Joey Diaz and Tony Hinchcliffe for a conversation that turned into something more like a living testament to second chances. Right off the bat, they dug into Joey's incredible transformation, dropping 140 pounds, not because he wanted to fit an image, but because he didn't want to die. It wasn't a dramatic epiphany that sparked the change. Joey made it clear that it started small, a short walk here, a better meal there. Those little acts, repeated relentlessly, became the scaffolding of a new life. Joe nodded, observing how most people stay stuck because they convince themselves they're too far gone. Joey pushed back against the mindset, insisting that no matter how bad it gets, you can still decide you're not going to go out like that.
That sandwich was fucking huge. I can't eat those no more, Joe.
You can eat it once. What you do is you just don't eat anything that day.
I can't, bro. Wet mutts. I love wet mutts.
Yeah.
But you got to give it a fucking, oh my God.
You can't eat that?
There's a place that gets a place I go to, the same Osteria. When they bring the wet mutts, you just put black pepper on it. Jesus Christ, Joe.
A little bit of olive oil.
Me and Vic went one time, and we got that. And me and Vic
salt.
were like, oh my God.
Yeah.
The cheese tastes so good. But that shit I used to eat, like prosciutto on mozzarella with a fucking, I can't do that no more.
No?
Too much of a sandwich, man.
Well, what have you done, like, when you tried to manipulate your diet? I know you did Weight Watchers for a while, and you lost a bunch of weight. But then, like, have you ever tried different kinds of diets? Have you ever tried, like, keto or low carb?
I would do the keto, but I can't eat that much meat in a day. I could, like this morning, I got 3 pieces of bacon. I ate 2. You know, something.
What about eggs? Do you eat eggs?
Yeah, like a motherfucker.
Well, if you wanted to try something that would help you lose weight, just eliminate all the sugar and bread. Just eliminate all that stuff. Just eat only things that are either like vegetables or meat. Just only that.
I've been working a lot on fasting.
Yeah?
It took me a while.
How long do you do?
I could eat at 7 and then not eat lunch till 4. I'm down to 2 meals a day and a protein shake. That's what I'm down to right now. I don't eat. That lunch was huge. When your plate came, I was like, I hope that's not my fucking plate. I hope, even though those ribs looked fucking killer.
They're good.
Tremendous. I can't do it no more. I could get like an 8-ounce, 10-ounce steak. Now, that's the most meat I could eat at night, you know. Today I had turkey and the brisket. It was fucking delicious. I eat avocado toast for breakfast. 3 eggs, avocado toast, and a fruit bowl. That's my breakfast, dog.
That's good. That's a good start. That's a good way to get going.
That's, in my world, that's great.
Yeah.
Where I come from,
Yeah. 6
eggs, white bread, a stick of butter, and a pack of bacon, and then an hour after I go to McDonald's before 11.
Yeah.
I'd say that's a big fucking change, my friend.
Yeah, it's a big change.
The talk shifted into old stories, back when they were all scraping by on the road, grinding out sets for $20 and eating garbage food at midnight. It sounded romantic in hindsight, But Joey was blunt. All those nights blurred into years of self-destruction. He decided how success in comedy became a dangerous camouflage. If you were killing on stage and selling tickets, nobody questioned what you were doing to yourself after the lights went down. Tony recalled first meeting Joey, how his presence was so raw that it scared him. But even back then, it was Joey's honesty that drew people in. He never pretended to be anything he wasn't. That authenticity was his gift and sometimes his curse. Joe pointed out that in the past, nobody warned you about the downside of the lifestyle. There were no podcasts or long-form interviews peeling back the curtain. You just drifted into excess until you either grew up or vanished. Tony said he was lucky to have mentors willing to talk about how dark things could get behind the laughs. Joey shared that he had reached a point where he was convinced he would die in his sleep. His body was breaking down, and every day he felt like he was surrendering more years he could never get back. Years with his daughter, his wife, the quiet, ordinary moments that outlast any standing ovation. And that fear finally grew stronger than the comfort of his old habits.
Be doing.
Yeah, that's not good for you. You know, I would love for you to get healthier. And I know at one point in time, like I said, you'd lost a lot of weight. You lost, what did you lose? I mean, you must have lost close to 80 pounds.
Yeah.
What'd you lose at one point in time?
I started at 4 something.
But there's one time with the Weight Watchers time where it was pretty quickly. It was over like a period of 10 months.
Yeah.
Everybody was like, look how good Joey looks.
Yeah. And dog, I still look good. Don't get confused, motherfucker. For 60, I still look fucking good.
You've had a hard
I should have looked
60,
like Ozzy
son.
Osbourne right now.
You've had a rough 60. I mean, you've had 60. You put some fucking miles on your wheels.
It was 60, you know.
Yeah.
I didn't know what my life was about till I wrote that book. And then I read it and I was like, I gotta take a breather.
Yeah, you've had an extraordinary life, my friend.
And that's why when I moved to Jersey, I said, you know what, man, it's time for me just to chill for a while. I wanted to get out of the train of thought I had of comedy. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That old mentality I had, I wanted to give that a breathe. I couldn't get away from it. So for once, I wanted to start fresh, man. I looked at it, what I needed to do. Everybody kept asking me, did you quit comedy? No, I'm just taking a fucking breather.
There's nothing wrong with taking a breather.
Just taking a fucking extended breather. I want to know what the fuck happened the last 40 years. Is that okay? I started this journey in 1983, and all of a sudden, 2020, I'm at the store with a bunch of fucking killers. I wasn't pre-programmed for this. I was pre-programmed to be in jail by now. What am I doing at the store with a bunch of fucking killers doing comedy? And they're talking to me, and we're laughing. It's not like I didn't earn it. It's not like my mother owned the fucking joint, and she just gave me a spot there. We earned those things. You know, what the fuck happened? I was a guy that was in prison. They told me it's not going to work out for you. And here we are today. So I had to go process this shit. You know, I had to go process a lot of fucking things. You know, when I was a kid and my mother died, I had to lie to myself, Joe.
It's right in front of you. Right in front of your thing. Now look, right in front of you.
Oh, shit. Sorry, I got no glasses.
No.
You know, when I was a kid, I had to lie to myself.
Yeah.
When my mother died, I had to say she's just leaving for a couple of years. That's the only way I could deal with it. She's just going away for a couple of years. I'll bump into her in a couple of years. When I went back to Jersey, dog, it hit me. Like I lied to myself all those fucking years.
Yeah, it's just a coping mechanism, right?
It was a coping mechanism I used just to soothe my fucking soul.
Yeah.
I got back to Jersey. I went up to the cemetery one day and I go, what the fuck is this? She never came back. And I was like pissed about it, like retarded, like she never made a comeback. And I'm like, Joey, what the fuck did you do? You buried yourself in that shit that you were gonna bump into her one day on Bergen Line Avenue or some shit, you know.
What's powerful here, and what often gets overlooked, is the transformation didn't come from a burst of inspiration. It came from a willingness to do something unglamorous. Start moving every day, even when it felt pointless. He wasn't waiting to feel good. He just refused to keep quitting on himself. And over time, the depression that had been a constant background noise began to fade. Joe reflected on how so many people believe reinvention is a single lightning bolt moment, a grand revelation. But in reality, it's a series of small, almost invincible choices. Think of any lasting change you've made in your life: quitting smoking, starting a business, getting fit. You never look back and say, that one moment did it all. You realize it was dozens of boring, difficult decisions stacked up over time. Joey described it as fighting a civil war in his head. One side was desperate to return to old routines, to numb out, to escape. The other side was simply tired of feeling like a prisoner. This is something anyone struggling with self-destruction can relate to. You don't become disciplined overnight. You build it up, rep by rep, by learning to sit with discomfort instead of running away. They laughed about the old days, when life was basically a rock band without instruments. Back then, there were no podcasts, no Instagram stories to show how bad it could get. You could vanish into the chaos and nobody would even know you were drowning. Today, younger comics and creatives have more examples of what happens when you don't put up guardrails. When Joe asked what finally flipped the switch, Joey said it was realizing he was missing everything that mattered. He didn't want to be the dad who never showed up because he was too tired or sick. And that clarity outweighed the craving for the next high. He had to learn to sit in the middle of sadness or fear and try not to make it disappear with food or drugs. If there's one lesson in this story, it's this: no transformation is clean or perfect. Even when you're committed, the bad days don't vanish. The voices that tempt you back never really go silent, but if you keep showing up, especially on the days you don't want to, something shifts. As Joe put it, forging steel requires fire. You can't get strong without heat. Tony emphasized how crucial it is to tell the full, unvarnished version of stories like this. If people only see before and after photos, they believe the middle was some sort of miracle. The truth is, it was ugly, it was hard, and that's what makes it inspiring, because it means anyone else can do it too. Joe closed the conversation by reflecting on how life gives you these windows of opportunity, moments where you can wake up or slide further into the hole. Joey seized his moment, and that's why he was sitting there, clear-eyed and alive. And if you're watching this and thinking you're too far gone, remember Joey's story. The big change isn't a single heroic act. It's the daily decision to show up, to sit with discomfort, and to choose something better over something easier. No matter how many times you failed before, you can still decide not to quit today. Death Zone. In 2014, Colin and Jenna sat together in their cramped one-bedroom apartment, a single whiteboard propped against the wall. They had no visitors, no sponsors, no blueprint, just an idea so audacious it felt embarrassing to say out loud. Colin wanted to break the world speed record for the Explorer's Grand Slam, to climb the tallest mountain on every continent and trek to both poles, all in one blistering, continuous push. He remembers that moment clearly, not because it felt like destiny, but because it felt like delusion. He wasn't a famous mountaineer. They didn't have money or connections. And the voice in his head kept repeating the same question: who are you to think you can do this? But sometimes the power of an idea isn't whether it feels realistic. It's whether you decide to treat it as real. And they did. Not in some cinematic flash of confidence, but in a quieter, more fragile way. They decided to see if they could just figure out the first step. So they started embarrassingly small, Googling the difference between marketing and PR. They emailed their only friend who had ever done any publicity. They built a website even though they had no clue what they were doing. In those early days, success wasn't measured in viral posts or funding. It was measured in whether they were willing to keep trying when they felt foolish.
This, like, when I first set off my first world record in 2014, I sat with Jenna in my house, one-bedroom apartment with a whiteboard, and we're like, I'm going to see if I can set the world record for the Explorer's Grand Slam, something fewer than 50 people in the world have ever done, and I'm going to be the fastest. Climb Everest, climb Denali, climb Kilimanjaro, North Pole, South Pole, back to back. I hadn't climbed a bunch of mountains. It'd be pretty easy to say I can't. Oh, and by the way, we have no money to do this. We have no platform. I have like 200 Instagram followers. I have like nothing. But we just sat there and we're like, no, instead of saying I can't, let's say I can. What's the first step to that? We literally get out our laptops and I'm like we're like, we want to build this big media campaign where lots of people follow and get press. Like, we know nothing about, we have no background in this. So we Google, what's the difference between marketing and PR? I mean, we are literally asking Google like the most basic of all basic questions.
Wow.
But we continue to say like, let's get coffee with our one friend who knows something about this. We should probably get a website. How does one build a website? And it goes on and on like this.
How long ago did you start this journey?
So that was 2014 when we dreamed that up. So the world record was to see if I could,
5 years ago.
Yeah, so to see if I could set the world record for something called the Explorers Grand Slam. So it's climbing tallest mountain on each of the 7 continents.
When people look back at what he accomplished, they often assume he'd been training for this all his life, that he must come out of some elite expedition pedigree. But Colin's childhood in Portland was ordinary. Family hikes, a love of the outdoors, a curiosity about what his body and mind could handle. He knew how to use crampons, but not at the scale Everest demanded. He believed in the smallest way at first that skill and experience could be earned in motion, that he didn't have to be qualified before he began. That belief carried him into the expedition itself. 139 days of non-stop travel, no real rest, each climb compounding the exhaustion. By the time he reached Everest, his 8th and final summit, his body felt hollowed out. Still, he kept going, because he understood that sometimes your commitment has to outlast your energy.
Summit push on Everest. I'm not climbing with a guide or anything. It's just myself and one Sherpa who I met climbing in Nepal the year previous when I was training for this. And so it's just the two of us, and we climb up into Camp 4. So Everest has, 4 camps. There's base camp, and then there's camps progressively higher in the mountain so you can get your body acclimatized. And we get up into Camp 4. Have you read the book Into Thin Air by John Krakauer or anything about Everest?
No.
Yeah, okay. There's a famous book that's written about it where 11 people die. And right in this moment, it's called the death zone, where you enter above 26,000 feet. The human body basically can't survive for long, even with supplemental oxygen. And this massive snowstorm and windstorm blows in like kind of out of nowhere, and we're trying to push for the summit. It takes us 2.5 hours just to set up our tent and get inside, and we know like it's over. Like we're not going to summit Everest like in this storm. There's no way. So we just survive the night, wake up the next morning, still getting pounded by this weather, and actually have to climb back down the mountain. So climb back down the mountain all the way to Camp 2, and they're like, well, that's probably it. Like you don't usually like spend a night out in the death zone and like make a second attempt, and you've already tried all these other mountains. You're 100+ days in this journey. And I was like, man, I want to see if I can get back up there. Like, and this other guy who I met on another team had some supplemental oxygen. So I had to use some of my supplemental oxygen. So my supply stores are limited now as well. And so he says to me, hey, I'm not going to go up. I'm sick. But if you get back up to Camp 4, there's a couple bottles of oxygen that you could use of mine if you somehow get back up there. So sure enough, Pasang Bodhi, that's the name of the Sherpa I was climbing with, amazing climber himself. We get back up to Camp 4 in the death zone, and we decide we're going to go for the summit. We call back down to base camp, what's the weather forecast? And they're like, well, it's the exact same forecast we told you before. It might hold, in which case you'll be fine, or it might turn into what you guys just survived. And if you're not near your tent and you're up on the summit ridge of Everest, like it's going to get like pretty bad. And so we kind of go back and forth. Should we go for it? Shouldn't we go for it? We just decide to go for it. But this crazy thing happens, which is, you may have read about this or heard of this if you know much about Everest, but basically, no one climbed Everest in 2014 or 15 because a huge avalanche killed 16 Sherpas in 2014. The mountain was closed. And in 2015, there was a huge earthquake in Nepal that shut the climbing season down. So no one's even climbed the mountain in 2 years. But all of a sudden, because of these weather delays, I end up there and there's 100 people going for the summit on the exact same day. So basically, traffic jam on the worst fucking place to be in a traffic jam possible. God. So Pasang Bodhi and I, we go, okay, let's figure out how to climb this thing. And we leave camp. There's a photo that I took for leaving camp. There's all these lights going up the side of the mountain, and it's because there's one rope that everyone works to put in, so everyone's using the same rope, and all of a sudden, we're behind 100 people. And if you stand there, wind chill minus 40 degrees, like we're going to get frostbite, like we're going to not be able to make it. And so Pasang Bodhi and I look at each other and we go, let's unclip from the rope. And so we actually decide to unclip from the rope, climb up all the way to the balcony from the South Call, the death zone area was.
Climbing Everest illustrates that you don't have to wait for fear to subside before taking action. Fear and purpose often exist side by side, and progress requires moving forward despite uncertainty. The moment Colin believed his hand had turned black, he felt both panic and a strange clarity that if it was truly gone, he'd still have to finish the climb. This demonstrates that courage isn't the absence of fear, but the willingness to act while fear is present. Another lesson is that the difference between a setback and an ending often comes down to perspective. Most climbers who spend a night in the death zone and are forced to retreat consider it the end of their summit bid. Colin chose to view that retreat as an opportunity to regroup rather than surrender. In any ambitious pursuit, reframing disappointment as temporary creates space for a second attempt. Success rarely looks heroic up close. From the outside, people see records and triumphs, but the reality is far messier. A series of compromises, imperfect plans, and relentless improvisation. Colin's final summit push involved patching together spare oxygen, borrowing supplies, and inching up the mountain without the certainty that it would work. This reminds us that achievements are built from persistent, sometimes unglamorous, problem solving. At high altitudes, no amount of willpower can override the fundamental limits of human biology. The body begins to shut down in the death zone regardless of your mindset. This applies to other arenas too, whether it's a business operating beyond its capacity or an individual pushing past healthy limits. Ignoring real constraints isn't courage, it's recklessness. Respecting your limits is essential to sustaining progress. Every small decision compounds under pressure. On Everest, adjusting a jacket, clipping into a rope, or taking a sip of water requires focus and discipline. In demanding situations, neglecting these small tasks can lead to cascading failures. The principle is simple. Consistency in the basics sustains you when the stakes are high. The climb also underscores a difficult truth about caring and control. When Colin encountered a collapsed climber on the descent, he tried to help her, but physically could not lift her body. This moment revealed that no matter how much you care, you can't always change outcomes. Leadership and teamwork demand compassion, but also the humility to accept limits on what you can fix.
So unfortunately that day, the weather actually did get pretty bad later in the day. So fortunately I was able to get down before the weather got too bad. But the people that died that day, one slipped and fell down these ropes over on Luttrell, which is the adjacent mountain, but sharing some of the same ropes on the same route. And then 2 people died from altitude sickness. So basically either running out of oxygen up there and not being able to get back down to their tent. I think those people actually did get carried back down to their tents that night and then died in the tents that night. So it's called cerebral edema, which is basically your brain fills with fluid from being at the high altitude and not getting enough oxygen, and it's a killer up there. And one of the crazy things about being up there is you read about it, but you really can't rescue somebody very easily up there. I mean, to carry a human body down and to rescue them is nearly impossible. And I kind of always thought in my mind, if I saw somebody lying on the ground, like I would summon the energy to pick them up. And I was actually coming back from the summit, and I was on the south summit, so just below the Everest summit, at 28,800 feet or something like that. And this Brazilian woman who I'd met in base camp named Tice, who I've become friends with. You're in Nepal for a couple months, you start talking to people, getting friends with other climbers, whatever. And I see her lying on the ground with her head leaned back and her oxygen mask off to the side. And I'm like, oh my God, this is the moment that I most feared. Somebody who I know is lying here on the side of the mountain. And I think to myself, I've got to pick her up. I've got to pick her up and somehow carry her down this mountain. And I lean over to grab her and I try with all my might to do anything, and I realize I can't move her 6 inches. I'm completely exhausted. Muscles aren't working. Brain's not working. So I do the only thing I can think to do is I just wrap her in my arms and I say, Tice, if you can hear me, it's Colin. You need to get up. You need to get your oxygen mask on. You need to start moving. Please get up. Please get up. No response. She was climbing with a Sherpa, another guide right next to her. And they were like, look, we're having trouble with her oxygen mask, but we're going to fix it. It's going to be all right. And I was just kind of going through this intense moment. I'm what do I do? How can I help? And it's this weirdest, I'm not proud of it necessarily to say it, but there was nothing I could do. It's just the most helpless feeling in the world, where you want to help the common person, a friend. I mean, this person not be a friend, but if any human being is lying on the ground in the snow, you're I want to help this person get down this mountain. And I was just so close to on my limit up there on the summit. There was nothing I could do. Fortunately, she was not one of the people that passed away that day. Her team did get her oxygen mask on her, and she actually made it to the summit and back down safely.
Wow. So she went up from there?
She ended up going up from there, which to me is another whole crazy part of that story. But it was an interesting lesson for me in you hear these stories, you can't move bodies up there, there's nothing you can do to rescue, and people have been criticized for not doing these crazy rescues when things have gone wrong up there. But it really hit home for me, like how hard it would be to move somebody down that mountain from that altitude. And so when you're up there, unlike, Antarctica, I was actually alone, and Everest, like I said, was a pretty crowded day. Like, you're essentially alone up there. Like, if you can't keep putting one foot in front of the other up in the death zone, there's not a whole lot.
And finally, the experience makes clear that the line separating success from tragedy is often razor thin. Great accomplishments don't always feel triumphant. They can feel like exhaustion or simple relief that you survived. Expecting constant inspiration or glory only sets you up for disappointment. Instead, cultivating patience and resilience becomes your most reliable competitive advantage. The story is ultimately about all the quiet decisions no one sees, the ones that add up, step by imperfect step, to something that matters. When people ask Colin what the real story was, he explains that it isn't about the frostbite scares, summit photos, or the record itself. Those dramatic moments are what outsiders fixate on, but they miss the deeper truth. The real story is about the quiet decisions, those countless points when everything in you was screaming to quit, when your body felt emptied out and your mind was raw, yet you still decided to take one more step.
This is what I'm worried. I'm worried that you've already done so much crazy shit that you have to push past the crazy shit you've already done. And you've already been on Everest. It sounds like you were kind of like, you weren't on death's door, but you opened the front gate.
Yeah.
You opened the front gate, you were on the lawn.
Yeah.
You were on death's lawn.
Sure.
Right?
No, absolutely. I mean, like I said, the people were literally died that day. It's
what
an
are you
interesting
going to try to do next? This is the question. Like, do you have some crazy shit in your head right now? You're like, okay, now I'm going to the moon with a fucking balloon.
It's funny. It's twofold. It's an interesting intersection. I appreciate that you call me young. I'll take that all day long.
Well, I'm 51, so you are young to me.
But I guess in terms of in athlete terms, right?
You're in the peak.
Yeah, the peak for endurance athletes, and it's fun to be here. But I also think it's a moment in time where a little bit, I'll say, I won't give myself too much credit, but a little bit of wisdom meets also athletic performance. A moment in time where I've had enough experience, enough setbacks, ups and downs, and success, of course, with the world records and things I have, but to really take stock of what's important to me. And what I've realized more and more is I'm super curious about pushing the limits of my own potential. 100%. We've talked about that. I love.
And that is the part no one sees or celebrates, the refusal to stop when every reasonable argument says you should. In the end, the record isn't just a measure of distance or altitude. It's a measure of how many times you were willing to keep going despite exhaustion, fear, or failure, and how many times you chose not to surrender to them. Taliban. In episode 1622, Marcus Luttrell shared a very intriguing survival story we can all learn from. The craziest part about that whole operation wasn't even the firefight itself. It was what it took to get him out alive. Everyone who's seen the movie remembers the clean, almost heroic daylight extraction, the helicopter sweeping in like a final act of redemption. But in real life, it didn't look anything like that. It was pitch black out there, the world exploding in every direction, and he felt like he was sitting inside the crater of a volcano. All he could see down the mountain was a river cutting through the darkness, miles away, like some impossible escape route. He'd been moved over and over because he couldn't walk. They had to carry him in shifts, Green Berets, Rangers, whoever could grab hold. When they finally tracked him down, he wasn't even on his feet. He was tucked under a rock in a dried-up riverbed, hidden by villagers who shoved him there to keep him from getting spotted. And when the rescue team found him, he didn't even recognize the first guy who crouched beside him.
Like the stunt coordinator, Kevin, he was great. And then there were the SEALs that were on there. So it got to the point to where, man, he just didn't, it evolved into itself. Like, you didn't have to make something up. There's so much stuff that we kept from the story that if I told you, you wouldn't believe me. Now, when it came to the movie, we filmed it around the gunfight.
Like what?
So we filmed it, the movie around the gunfight, because that's when everyone was alive. I was like, you shouldn't have known that I was going to be the guy that make it out. When they were picking the actors, I was like, so if you get somebody like an A-list actor and then everybody, they'll know that he's the one that made it out. I was like, when you're watching the movie, you shouldn't know that. course, Hollywood does kind of does their own thing. But the craziest part about that whole operation was getting me out of there, and that wasn't in the movie. In the movie, they did a daylight extract. Like, they came in, landed, and a couple of shots, and they got out of there. In real life, it wasn't like that. It was unbelievable. I mean, it was a night, and the world was blowing up. We were in this, like, a volcano, like, sitting in the middle of this volcano, and I remember looking down the mountain, and there's a river running down. I mean, it looked like miles down, and they had moved me. They had to carry me. I couldn't walk, and they kind of like, and we would stumble over the Green Berets, Rangers. It was a hodgepodge. Let me tell you something. When them guys showed up to rescue me, when they found me, I was laying in a riverbed, dried up, tucked under a rock. The villagers had shoved me underneath this rock. And there was this one guy I had never met before. And he was sitting there listening to a AM/FM radio. And he was scrolling through the channels. We hand those out for morale. Like the U.S. military hands those out. And he had one of them. I recognized it. And he was listening to the different channels. And I could recognize the different languages. German, Japanese. And he was like, hey, they're talking about you. And I was like, okay. I didn't know who he was. He was kind of messing with me a little bit. Because I couldn't move, and he had this stinging. Anyway, it's not important. And then the Gulag and a couple of the villagers came and picked me up. They had to carry me everywhere. And
Why did they save you? Because in the movie, it's confusing.
It is.
Because in the movie, it's like these guys save you, and you don't know why they're saving you.
When he found me,
they have to fight the Taliban.
Yeah, can you believe that?
Crazy.
So I had been crawling for a day and some change. I was like crawling through the mountains, and I had somehow, some way got to the top of this ridge line. I was so thirsty. I mean, I hadn't thought about this. There's an insanity that goes with thirst. I was so thirsty that I was willing to kill anything to get water. I mean, you can't even believe it. I was drinking my own urine, my own blood. Nothing would quench the thirst. God, I hadn't thought about this in a while. And I got to the top of this ridge line, and there was a waterfall. And I was trying to slide down into it. I was like, I'm just going to go down in here, and I'm going to hit that water, and it's going to be something good to drink. So I tried to slide down. I just took off. I got uncontrollably. I started sliding. I rotated upside down. And I remember looking over, and my rifle was sliding beside me. I couldn't throw that thing away. It's like every time I'd lose it, one of my boys was like, hey, you're going to need this. And I flipped upside down, over backwards, into the river. And I remember my knees hit me in the face, and it knocked me out again. And I was I was a blobbering mess. Everything.
That stranger's radio was more than a piece of plastic. It was a reminder that even when your world has collapsed into survival and pain, life goes on elsewhere. And people you'll never meet are talking about you like you're a story rather than a human being. That realization, lying there broken, drives home how easily we reduce others' suffering to something abstract. It's one of the paradoxes of survival. You become news while you're still fighting to stay conscious. Everything in him was shattered. He couldn't move or speak without agony. And in that state, it was almost impossible to understand why villagers, people who owed him nothing, kept risking their own lives to pick him up and carry him over rocks. When he looked back later, he understood something most people overlooked. True courage isn't always the flashy heroism we romanticize. Sometimes it's ordinary people choosing empathy over self-preservation, choosing to see a fellow human instead of a burden. And that realization stayed lodged in his mind long after the wounds healed. He'd been crawling through the mountains for more than a day when thirst stripped away every layer of rational thought. Training and discipline vanished under the primal need for water. He drank anything he could, his own fluids, the blood from his injuries, and still the thirst kept devouring him from the inside. That kind of desperation shows you who you really are. It proves that beneath all our illusions of control, we're driven by the same basic needs. And when he finally spotted that thin waterfall, he didn't pause to consider safety or consequences. He slid toward it because sometimes survival is about surrendering to the next right instinct, however reckless it seems. Even then, Clinging to his rifle as he tumbled over a ledge, he couldn't let go. Because part of survival is holding on to something, anything, that represents a chance. In his case, it was the weapon he had been taught to rely on. He woke up in the cold water, body barely functioning, mind flickering in and out. And when he heard the word American, everything in him tensed. He didn't know if it meant rescue or execution. In that single moment, locking eyes with the villager, each of them inches from deciding whether to kill, held a lesson he would never ever forget. Survival often comes down to split seconds when fear and trust collide. And sometimes what makes the difference isn't brute strength, but the willingness to risk believing that someone else means you no harm. The villagers didn't raise a weapon. He raised his hands. He kept repeating American, the only word he could offer as proof he wasn't an enemy. And then came the strangest words, shampoo and hydrate. He never forgot them because they were absurd and profound all at once. They reminded him that no matter how close you are to death, a piece of simple humanity, cleaning you, giving you water, still matters. In a world reduced to violence and survival, those small mercies can feel bigger than any rescue mission.
It was Gulab, one of the main villagers who rescued me. And I turned around on him. I had my gun at my hip. My safety was off. My tension was out of my trigger. And he was kind of looking. I mean, we were staring each other straight in the eyes. And I was like death. You know how you can smell death when it's there? I was like, man, okay, let's go. And, God. I don't know why I didn't kill him. I didn't have to even go to my shoulder to kill him. I mean, I had the tension out of my trigger. I was just sitting there looking at him. He was looking at me, and he wouldn't say it. He said American a couple times, and then he said it again. I was like, Taliban? And he was like, American? And then he kind of put his hands up, and I came off my trigger. I don't know why I didn't kill him. And he started walking down on me. He's like, okay. Shampoo, hydrate. That's what he's telling me, shampoo, hydrate. That's what he said. 2 English words he knew. I was like, shampoo, hydrate. You know how good that sounded? I was like, bro, I would love some water, and if you want to wash my hair. It's so funny. So if you ever get into a bad situation and you're about to lose your mind, just say shampoo and hydrate, and you'll be fine, dude. And I'm like, can you believe that? That's what he said to me.
That's crazy.
And I dropped my muzzle down, and he walked up on me, and I pulled a grenade out. I pulled the pin. Don't ever do that. And I was going to, like, if you try something, I'll just kill us all. I don't care. But then he kind of rolled me over, and he's like, it's okay, I got you. You know, I could just tell. You know how when you can tell, like, hey, man, I got you. I freaking got you. You can feel that. Like, you can feel if someone's like, hey, man, I got you, and then I'm going to jack you up later. And this guy was like, man, I got you, man. And I repinned that grenade. I'll never forget. I was like, I heard you're not supposed to do I mean, there's so much crazy stuff. Well, anyways, all these kids came running out from everywhere, and they picked me up. I couldn't walk, and they started carrying me down the ridgeline into the valley. And there was a village down there. And then the kids and everybody, they were laughing and whatnot, and they pulled me into this room, and they started kind of doctored me up, stopped my bleeding, patched me up, gave me all the water I could drink, and then the Taliban came in.
He still didn't trust completely. He held a grenade with the pin pulled, ready to end it all rather than be captured again. But the villagers didn't back away. He just stepped closer, speaking softly as if to say, I've got you. That moment taught him that courage isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it looks like a man refusing to let you die alone. When the children came running to help, lifting him up as if he weighed nothing, laughing as if it was an ordinary day, he realized that compassion doesn't have to be rational. It doesn't have to make sense, and it rarely shows up when it's convenient. And that's part of why it's so powerful. Even after the Taliban returned and took him again, proving that survival doesn't always follow a clean arc of rescue and relief, he never lost that awareness. Looking back, he sees that what kept him alive wasn't just training or toughness. It was that in his most broken moment, someone crossed the line between fear and compassion, and someone offered help without a guarantee it would be safe. That's the truth he carries more than the memories of pain. In the worst places on earth, when you're certain no one cares if you live or die, a stranger's small act of humanity can outlast all the cruelty. It can give you just enough hope to hang on for one more hour, And often, that's the hour that makes all the difference. Wolf meat. In episode 1395, Glenn Villeneuve, a prominent figure known for his self-sufficient life in the Alaskan wilderness on the snow show Life Below Zero, shared remarkable encounters with wolves that underscored the intense realities of his chosen lifestyle. His aspiration was to shed all non-essentials and live as a hunter-gatherer. One significant wolf interaction occurred during a winter, 2006 to 2007, when Glenn, his ex-wife, and their baby faced severe food scarcity, enduring a protracted period of hunger due to an unexpected caribou migration pattern. While desperately hunting, Glenn discovered the fresh, bleeding tracks of a wounded caribou being pursued by a lone wolf. He immediately pursued them up a 5,000-foot mountain, eventually realizing the caribou had gone over a cliff. Locating the animal in the ravine below, where the wolf had moved on after its kill, Glenn retrieved the caribou. In the biting cold of 25 degrees below zero, he ingeniously created a makeshift backpack from the caribou's rib cage to transport the meat back to camp. It wasn't only a display of resourcefulness, it underscored a mindset most people never develop: the ability to see survival not as a romantic ideal, but as a series of practical problems you solve one by one. Glenn knew that if he didn't make efficient use of every part of that animal, he'd be risking starvation. He watched the wolf, its work complete, sitting calmly on a ridge as though the two of them were merely parallel hunters sharing the same world. Most wolves he's encountered in the past avoided humans altogether, instinctively wary of the unpredictable dangers people bring. Yet, even in that wariness, there was a quiet mutual respect, an unspoken understanding that in this landscape, survival trumped everything else.
I didn't have a cameraman with me. That story was told on the show, and I documented it a little bit as much as I could with my little camera at the time. That day I shot 3 wolves, but that was a very unusual situation. Those wolves were actually trying to get me, which is almost unheard of. But this was years before that. This wolf, and like almost every other wolf encounter I've ever had, the wolf wants nothing to do with you. I mean, the wolf knows I'm dangerous. And
how do they know you're dangerous? Are they having any interactions with other humans?
Wolves know this all across North America. I've only been able to find 2 documented bona fide cases where wolves have killed humans in North America in recent times. There was this one guy, young guy up in Saskatchewan several years ago. There was one woman in Alaska that apparently was killed by wolves. It almost never happens. They just know that people are dangerous. They've been persecuted. I mean, there were bounties on wolves. I think it's in their DNA now. You know, all wild animals. Grizzly bears, they don't want anything to do with people 99.9% of the time.
It's interesting you saying that. Grizzly bears, where they're hunted, don't want anything to do with people. Right. They're having a real problem with grizzly bears in places like Montana, where they don't hunt them,
right,
where they don't have any fear. Many generations of no fear of human beings, and you're getting a lot of maulings because of that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be crazy about walking out in a national park where you're not allowed to bring a gun.
Yeah. Well,
it takes the bravest of hearts to witness such a scene and not only relive it, but participate in the hunt. Years later, in January 2012, Glenn faced an encounter that tested his nerve and judgment beyond anything he'd experienced before. He spotted a pack of 20 wolves on the frozen lake, a sight that even for him was unprecedented. Most wolf packs number 6 to 8 animals. 20 was more like an anomaly out of folklore than a field observation. As he approached, rifle and camera in hand, he realized they were fresh off a kill, their bodies tense with the peculiar confidence predators have when their bellies are full. When his camera batteries died, he turned back toward the safety of his cabin, only to glance over his shoulder and see the entire pack racing straight for him. Moments like this reveal the deeper reality of wilderness life. No matter how prepared you are, unpredictability was always waiting. It's not simply about skill or knowledge, but about how you respond when your plans collapse. For Glenn, running to the cabin wasn't just about fear. It was a calculation, a recognition that to survive, he had to become unpredictable in return. Inside, he knew he couldn't let the wolves think of him as prey. Wild animals, particularly apex predators, test boundaries constantly. If he showed weakness or passivity, he'd be inviting more dangerous encounters in the future. So he made a deliberate choice that most people would never even consider. He lured the pack back toward him. This wasn't bravado. It was a form of necessary psychological warfare. By standing his ground and proving he could be a threat, he was reinforcing the lesson that humans were not easy quarry. When he sat down and began firing, it wasn't merely about survival. It was about establishing dominance in a place where animals gauge their odds carefully. Even in that high adrenaline moment, shooting one wolf at 264 yards and stopping others that came within 40 yards, Glenn was applying the same principle he lived by every day. You respect nature, but you don't cede ground to it.
When you find the wolves that you did shoot, and you shot and killed 3 of them,
Yeah.
do you eat them?
I ate some of those just because I was low on food. I don't like to eat wolf meat if I can help it. It's, to me, there's like cleaner meat and there's dirtier meat. I don't really like to eat bears. A lot of people eat bears. I've eaten the one grizzly bear that I ever shot. I didn't shoot him because I wanted to eat him. I shot him because I needed to shoot him. But if I have caribou and moose, I don't really want anything else. Really, ungulates is what I like to eat.
Right, of course.
They're cleaner. If you see the stuff that bears eat, I don't know why people are so crazy about bear meat. Some people really like bear meat, but I've seen what bears eat, and I don't really want to be eating bears.
It's rotten food a lot of times, right?
Oh, yeah. And I mean, they just got a lot more parasites that can actually harm you.
Yeah.
Like a caribou is a clean animal. There's a couple things they can have that can hurt you, not too bad normally. But a grizzly bear, I mean, you skinning them and there's worms this long crawling out their ass, and they got a lot, and those worms can hurt you. They're bad. If they get into a person, they can cause serious problems because they don't stay in your intestines. They go into your brain in different weird places. If the eggs get into you and they hatch because they're an unfamiliar host, they don't know where to go.
Oh, Jesus.
They go into spinal cord. They go all over the place.
What do they do if that happens to you?
A lot of kids have had big problems. The same kind of, very similar kind of worm lives in raccoons. So kids playing on the playground, raccoon feces has the eggs in it.
Oh, wow.
It's Balis ascaris is the genus of worm. It's like a roundworm. Normally, it doesn't cause the bear too much problem. It just lives in their intestines. But if that larva, if you get an egg in you and the larva doesn't know where to go, he's in an unfamiliar host and they act differently, they'll migrate into weird places in your body, like nervous tissue. They get in your eyes and stuff.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. Someone's got one in their eyes. Oh, Jesus. The parasite on the playground. Roundworm. Wow. Look at that, man. In the eyeball.
Yeah. And
what did they do?
Well, I've never got one in my eye, so
Fuck that. Look at that thing. Traveling around inside this person's eyeball. Fuck that, man.
There's a lot of parasites out there. That's the thing people don't realize is like humans used to have a lot of parasites in them.
Look how many people have them in their eyes. Look at all those pictures of the eyeballs.
Yeah, I killed this one bear one time, and those worms, they were...
one on the left, Jamie. Right to the left of your cursor, right there. Click on that.
It's 15 worms in that one.
Click on that. Oh my God. Their eyeballs overcome with fucking worms.
Yeah, I've had to deal with those worms, but not in me.
15 centimeter, that's what it says.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's so long.
Yeah, they're long. They're long. They're about as big around as your pinky, or at least my pinky.
There's 14 worms in this woman's eye.
Oh my God, look at her fucking eye.
It's disgusting.
Oh my God, that's so insane. Oh, fuck parasites, man. So
there's so many parasites. It's creepy. Like, I've seen a lot of parasites, but most of them won't hurt a human.
Right.
Those are one that will. And the one that's in the grizzly bear is just a slightly different variation from that one that's in raccoons. It's Balis ascaris transfuga lives in the grizzlies up there. And
so are you wearing rubber gloves when you cut them open and everything?
Hell no.
No?
No, but I did build a big bonfire right there because it was right in my yard, and I just burned the ground because I got little kids up there, and they were crawling around that time playing and stuff, and I just built this huge bonfire because I want to make sure no eggs. The eggs are very resilient. They can last for years and years in the environment. They can survive being frozen all winter.
Really?
Oh yeah, they're microscopic eggs. That's what you got to worry about.
That winter, food scarcity reached a level that forced him to cross yet another line. He began eating wolf meat. Many would recoil at the idea, but Glenn approached it as he did everything else, with pragmatism and caution. He knew the dangers of parasites like trichinosis, so he boiled the meat thoroughly. In survival, you don't have the luxury of sentimentality. You eat what keeps you alive, no matter how unsettling it feels. And while he much preferred the clean flavor of ungulate meat, the wolf meat was calories and protein he couldn't afford to waste. The diet that sustained him, dense animal fat, raw organs, rendered marrow, and even the vegetal slurry from a caribou stomach, reflects a truth often lost in modern life. Optimal health isn't always about what you eat, but what you burn. Glenn's cholesterol never spiked because every day demanded a punishing level of exertion, converting fat into fuel under the stress of sub-zero temperatures. And perhaps more importantly, his mindset was never about comfort. It was about endurance and the discipline to use every resource at his disposal without hesitation or regret. His story isn't simply one of adventure or danger. It's a proof to the reality that true survival requires a union of knowledge, mental resilience, and a willingness to let go of civilization's illusions. Out there, nothing goes to waste. Not the meat, not the bones, not the last scrap of energy or courage. Every choice you make writes the next line of your story. And sometimes the smallest, most decisive act, like standing your ground against a pack of wolves, becomes the difference between being remembered as a legend and becoming just another cautionary tale lost to the snow. Wild survival. In Joe Rogan Experience number 1482, Jordan Jonas shared a story that honestly sounds almost mythic. A real-life adventure that makes most of our roughing it stories look like a weekend glamping trip. He grew up on a farm in Idaho, but the real turning point came at 19, when he basically said forget this to conventional life and started hopping freight trains across America with his brother, who he called a pro-hobo. Can you imagine doing that? No phone, no plan, just the clothes on your back and a willingness to get wet, cold, and hungry on purpose. He'd wake up soaked by rain, sleep in open boxcars, dig meals out of dumpsters, and pick up day work when he could. It sounds grim, but he described it with this weird fondness, as if stripping life down to its barest essentials gave him a clarity he couldn't have found any other way. You can't help but respect it. He always had this strong Christian faith and a sense that his life should be about something bigger than himself. So at 21, he decided to go to Russia to help build orphanages. The thing is, he basically knew zero Russian, just the alphabet. But that didn't stop him from moving into a tiny village filled with ex-cons. Ex-cons. He had to learn the language by sheer necessity, picking up 5 or 10 words a day until eventually he could hold conversations. That phase sounded brutal. He said the loneliness was almost physical. But he came out of it with a deeper resilience and a humility you can't fake.
When we were doing that project trying to get guys to stop drinking out in Siberia, we had like a little hunting cabin we were based at, and I woke up one morning and we had a stupid dog that just barked at everything, and I just hear the dog going ruff, 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 and I was like, oh, it's probably a squirrel. So I got up and I didn't get up. I let it bark, and then my buddy got up like an hour later and went out to brush his teeth and came running back in. He's like, dude, there's a bear out there. So I went up, jumped up, looked out, and a bear had killed a moose. Like less than 100. We could have watched the whole thing if I would have just woke up right away. But it killed a moose right next to our cabin. When we came out, it saw us and took off running. And we were like, oh man. So we walked over there, like, geez, a whole warm moose still here. So we like cut it up, hauled it back to our camp.
Stole it from the bear.
Did
the bear come back?
Oh yeah. Like 3 days later, like we were in our shelter, and sure enough, the one dog just came running in and hid under the bed. And the other one started like out there barking like rah, 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 rah. And so we grabbed the SKS and go out there, and it felt like have you ever seen The Ghost in the Darkness?
Yeah.
That's what it reminded me of, because it's like all this tall brush, and you just hear like the dog's barking over here, and so I'm like, oh man, the bear's over here, and then over here you hear a and you're like, oh crap, it's over here, wow. And then all of a sudden we're like, man, we're kind of in this tall brush, like better. But I was like, well, I got my camera, so I handed the gun to this dude. And he's just like, I figured he knew what he was doing. A bad choice. But I got my camera. He got the gun. And then, again, we're looking at where the dog's barking, and the bear, like, pops up right here and stands up. It's like, whoosh, and dude just took off running with the gun. And I had recently...
with the camera?
Yeah, I left me with my camera. I had recently had a knee surgery. It was like I wasn't running out of there, so I just, like, stood there and ducked back in the brush.
God.
And then dude comes back like a full, almost a minute later. I was just like there.
Give
like,
me
I'm
that
not gonna
gun,
run. And
pussy.
he's like, my knees are shaking. I was like, dude, you got a gun, don't run. And just as I said that, it stood up again, and he's like, dude, sounded like Vietnam. And it was just like, bah, 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 bah.
He shot the bear?
And he shot it.
So did you guys want to be eating it?
Well, I was with, they were all Evenki people, and we ate the heart, but they don't eat they have like a whole ritual when they shoot a bear. It's like because they're so wormy up there, you can eat them in like a serious situation, but what they would like, they like cut the head off and put the eyes under a rock because they didn't want the like spirit to see who got it. So they and then they put the other parts of it in the river so that it floats down to like a different village so that the bear thinks those are the people that got it. So there's all these weird.
What's wild is that this eventually led him to Siberia, where he lived with the Evenki nomadic reindeer herders. These people have a way of life that hasn't really changed in centuries. Everything came from their reindeer: food, clothing, transportation. He described it as awesome, and you could tell he meant it. They were so connected to the land and each other, which made the contrast with other nearby villages where alcoholism had devastated families all the more striking. Jonas believed, and you could feel how much he believed this, that humans need struggle. We need struggle to be tangible, something that demands creativity and courage. Otherwise, life gets weirdly hollow. That part really stuck with me. All of that experience turned out to be perfect training for Alone, the show where they dump you in the wilderness with just 10 survival items and see who lasts the longest. Jonas didn't just survive, he won season 6 by lasting 77 days in the Canadian Arctic. 77 days. The way he prepared was fascinating. He deliberately gained 25 pounds by drinking straight olive oil, which sounds disgusting, but smart. So he'd have fat reserves when the calories dried up. He also practiced constantly with his recurve bow because he knew hunting could make or break him. His gear choices were really thoughtful, though he admitted he regretted one of them. He brought an axe, a bow with 9 arrows, a saw, that was the regret, fishing line and hooks, a ferro rod, trapping wire, a sleeping bag, multi-tool, a frying pan, and a tarp. Each item was like a tiny insurance policy against freezing or starving. One of the craziest moments, and you could tell Rogan loved this story, was when a wolverine stole about 35,000 calories of moose fat Jonas has stored. 35,000! He was so determined not to lose more that he tracked it down and shot it with an arrow, pinned its leg, then finished it with an axe. He even ate it. He said wolverine tastes like skunk, which, no thanks. Most of his diet came from the moose he took down on day 23, an incredible feat with nothing but a Leatherman. He also caught giant lake trout, some weighed 27 pounds, using moose scraps as bait. Even so, he said the hunger never really went away.
In the woods like that.
Well, in Happy People, the guy was talking about losing his favorite hunting dog to bears.
Yeah, that happens. The way they do dogs over there, the Evenki are interesting because they have a different dog for every type of animal. So if you got like a dog that's really good at treeing birds, and you got a dog that's good at going after bears, and you got a dog that's good at sable. Like you just keep raising dogs until you get one that likes to go after what you need it to go for.
Where are they getting their dogs from?
It's just like this Evenki breed of dog. I don't know, just
what
random.
What do they look like? Just
they're
mutts?
like either white mutts, mutt-looking things. They're not very big, but they're not small. Just average coyote-sized dogs, and they, usually white or red or spotted.
What do they feed them?
Just mush, like this, like oat and mush stuff they buy in the village. It's not very good food, but then the dogs like try to fend for themselves and stuff, catch mice and things like. It's like they're like not an enviable. Well, the dogs seem pretty happy, but they also like, you go out in super cold weather and this dog will have melted a big hole in the snow and it gets snowed on top of it and it like pops up out of this hole.
That's how they're sleeping?
Yeah, they just sleep outside. They're tough dogs. Yeah. So they're Yeah.
And they're eating just mush?
Yeah, they're just eating mush and like certain scraps and stuff, but yeah, not an enviable diet they have. They're usually kind of thin, but
they don't know any better.
Yeah, they don't know any better. They like it. They seem happy running around free like that.
What an incredible animal dogs are.
Yeah, super cool.
It's just so, what a strange, what is this?
Oh, there's one. That's Petya.
Wow.
That's he's such a cool guy. But that's him and his reindeer.
If I saw, like, if I didn't know any better and I saw a dude with a reindeer with a saddle, I'm like, get the fuck out of here. That's not real. You can't just ride a reindeer around. Because the reindeer's not that big. Like,
No.
That looks like about a 200-pound reindeer, right?
Yeah, they're not, but they're pretty strong. They're like, they'll pull you and like, but it is border, like a guy like me or whatever. That's starting to get borderline. But
how much do you weigh?
Well, like 175.
And so if you're on a 200-pound,
you just got to get a
reindeer,
stronger
so-
one, yeah. And they do it. The strongest ones will carry well over 200-pound person.
How
but-
big are the big ones? Big,
Ooh, I don't
big-
know the weight, but you
Like a 300-pound.
No, I don't think they
caribou
get
is
that
really big.
Yeah. Not the domestic ones are probably a little smaller, and I don't think
Ah.
they get that heavy. Maybe 250, but but they're strong, man. You like get on, like there's be some cool times where you're just out in the middle of this field in Siberia. You know those swamps have that like tuft of grass that's like you walk on, and then you're carrying your reindeer along. He's like in tow maybe, and then you get to this big flowing river with ice and everything, and jump on your reindeer and just hope he can make it through without stumbling. And you're like on the back of this reindeer, like feels life or death if you fall in this river, and you just hang on to him and trust that he won't stumble, and make it across this river, pull up on the other shore, and you're just like, whew.
Do you ever have dreams of that life? Like after you've done it? Like do you ever?
It's always present with me, like I always think about it. Like I was saying, it's like it's interesting to live in a modern world and see the things that suck my time.
But what really hit home was how he described the mental side of survival. He said it wasn't the cold or the hunger that was hardest. It was your own mind. If you haven't worked out your personal baggage before going in, isolation would rip it wide open. He credited practices like gratitude, good relationships, and handling your issues before you're alone in the woods was saving his sanity. Ironically, he said constantly filming himself for the show actually made him feel less alone than the months he'd spent trapping in Siberia when he was truly off the grid. Jordan Jonas' story isn't just another reality TV survival tale. It's proof that when you strip away all the modern distractions and comforts, what's left is a raw, honest encounter with yourself. And maybe that's exactly what a lot of us are missing. From special operation rescues and near-fatal wilderness ordeals to split-second decisions that changed everything, these accounts go far beyond entertainment. If you found these stories as gripping as we did, don't stop here. Dive deeper into the episodes to hear every raw detail straight from the survivors themselves. And if you love exploring the extreme limits of human endurance, subscribe to the newsletter so you never miss another unforgettable story. I'm Mickey V. Have a great day.